This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy! Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, a.k.a.
Catbus Russ,
who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guest and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, Ninety, 4 FOR, chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
Hello there.
Hello and welcome to another, please pardon the air conditioning running, bonus episode of I Dig Crazy Flicks with Catbus Russ. I am your host, Catbus Russ, and before I get into reviewing the first day at ATL Comic Convention 2025, I feel I should put a movie review in there to make sure it's something for everybody. Don't want to exclude people who just can't get to these cons. ATL has been pretty good thus far, and you know what? I'm going to offer a movie up that I think does the same. I'll be back shortly.
This one will drive you absolutely mad.
The riots began because the stores could not meet the demands of Sutter Kane's novel, In the Mouth of Madness.
Kane disappeared 2 months ago without a trace.
I'm the guy that writes horror books.
You can forget about Stephen King. Kane outsells them all. I need to know if he's alive or dead, and I need that book.
It's a setup. I just have to work out how it's set up.
Kane's writing has been known to have an effect on his readers.
See this? It's a map.
This whole thing has been staged.
You just get out.
This is not reality.
It's all happening for real, Trent.
I know this book will drive people crazy.
I hope so. The movie comes out next month.
Well, I do not have that many John Carpenter movies to watch now. I just concluded the Apocalypse trilogy, so that really just leaves me with The Fog, Village of the Damned, and Memoirs of the Invisible Man. I don't know if I'll get around to Village of the Damned. I think that was a little too close to when Christopher Reeve's accident occurred. And never mind, it was a remake, and I didn't hear that many positive things about it at the time. Granted, I wasn't a big John Carpenter nut at the time, so that didn't really happen until late high school after seeing They Live. And then, of course, I got to get around to Halloween. To get on topic, In the Mouth of Madness really makes me want more from this apocalyptic vision of his, I suppose. I don't know really, when I think back to the other two features in it, The Thing and Prince of Darkness, I still kind of feel like those are two totally different movies. You could say Apocalypse with The Thing, but in the end, it's really just a story of a bunch of guys, stuck in Antarctica. Until the retrieval team comes, hey, the world might not be in danger. Prince of Darkness, yes, they leave it open that, we're going to keep flirting with the devil. And In the Mouth of Madness does kind of meet in the middle, I would suppose. The story is about John Trent, a insurance investigator who's been hired to figure out why a publishing label operated by Charleston Heston cannot find their star writer, somebody who outsells Stephen King, Sutter Kane, played by Jürgen Prochnow, I believe is how it's pronounced. Best shot at it. In other words, the publishing label wants to collect on his death, or they want their new book, which they've already sold the movie rights to, and what have you. It's an interesting case for Trent. Basically, like, oh, I gotta figure out how he's conning us. And he believes everything's a con. And while he's playing this game, though, he figures out a map to the town that's the center of it all. So it's like finding a map to Derry if you were talking Stephen King. He heads to that town, he finds Sutter Kane, and he finds a death cult, of course. And he seems to be stuck in a loop until he accepts that he's supposed to return the manuscript to the publishing label. And the principle being that more people believe what Sutter Kane is writing than, say, the Bible. Thus, the more people who believe, the more reality will change. And it's up to Trent to determine if he can stop this or if he's just got to take a part in it. So it's an interesting mind trip. The special effects are good. I wish they would have shown them off a little bit more. And they're more reminiscent of The Thing with the practical Lovecraftian vibes to them. And you get some weird ones, and some of them like, well, I could see why, it just felt darker in 1982, and this is kind of like, well, I guess we're doing that again. So maybe if it was released earlier in his career, it'd have more of a vibe, but I think it took the success of The Thing, which of course took a good 5-6 years before we recognized it as a classic, to allow him to do this. Sam Neill it's interesting that they just figured out after Jurassic Park he can't hold an American accent, so they just let him go. And you get to see a bunch of Carpenter's standard guys, like Bernie Casey. So it's fun for Carpenter's fans. So I guess it's just really a film where you think Carpenter's just having fun. And, why do I need to see Village of the Damned when we get this chaotic village with roaming children, mutated kids, people blowing their heads off because that's how they were written to do it. So, and it does kind of give you a loop vibe at the end. So, and it really explores, I think, the idea of writers buying, or I should say, smelling their own farts, essentially. And if they get enough people approving of it, that could be a bad thing. That, I guess, really sums up. There's just some weird bits, I guess, like the titles just being rock music played by Carpenter's band over just the printing press and what have you. Supporting cast has people like John Glover, who shows up, who's always fun in whatever he's in. He always knows the assignment, how to be camp. I don't know if he can play straight, honestly. And David Warner is fun as the person the story is being told to. So it's a lot of, as I say, it's just a lot of fun things. Like, this is the horror version, dare I say, of Big Trouble in Little China. And if you're a creative person, I think it kind of gives you ideas of what you can really do with the pen. And I guess kind of a vibe, I get vibes, because I saw it first, of the movie Quill with Jeffrey Rush as the Marquis de Sade. I think that pulled a lot of inspiration in for Carpenter. So again, it just felt like a movie where he was having a lot of fun. If John Carpenter's having fun, there's a good chance the audience is. So I'd recommend this one. Again, it's kind of like, I want to see him dive into it more. Like, could you smoke a little less weed and play fewer video games? Oh, retirement just sounds so grand.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll. Bring the noise.
Thanks once again for checking out this bonus episode of I Dig Crazy Flicks. I guess it's technically now a 90 for Chill the podcast episode with Cat Bus Russ. Again, I am the guy with the Cat Bus hat who wanders around the conventions. So, ATL Comic Convention 2025 in Atlanta, Georgia at the Georgia World Congress Center. A really nice facility, big facility. It's very much a product of the 1996 Summer Games, which I actually did get to see a few events for. None of your traditional athletic events, I would say, that you associate with the Olympics. Hell, I do not know if baseball and softball are still sports in it. Caught a lot of soccer, though. And actually, the soccer was in Birmingham, Alabama. So it was an interesting trip. Got to see the Dream Team play in the Georgia Dome. And that was interesting because I think they had it cut off. Like, you know, I go to concerts and shows at the Assembly Hall. The State Farm Arena. And whenever they're doing a concert or a Broadway show like Book of Mormon, they just pull a huge curtain, just like high school gym class. Keep us away from them girls. And split the arena in half. So I imagine the other half had, I think it was Katie Ledecky. No, that's a swimmer. The girl who did her vault and landed it with 1 foot, win the gold for the States. That event probably happened simultaneously, I suppose. I'd like to think that. I was there. Regardless, I was watching Scotty and Charles on their second stint with the Dream Team, so I digress. So, it's not that I'm in a Hampton Inn. I'm not really going to speak overly highly of it. Staff is courteous, I will say that. But my hair is not that long whenever I grab a towel, so there you go. And there were other guests complaining about a mildewy smell in their room, but it's very humid out here. Definitely not getting multiple days out of clothes, so I'm not going to, I couldn't tell the smell if it was me or the room. So, but and I could say the canteen's a little hard to find. But you know what? After making it back with 5 items, cost me about $27 from a convenience store, souvenir shop as well, in the near the center of all of this Atlantic downtown. I can't really complain too much. And I'm gonna need some popcorn anyhow because I got 2 movies to watch. I only bought 1 bag. Wish we had microwave popcorn. Yeah. Okay. So. Quit crapping on the room, Russ. You could have probably spent another $50 and gotten an HDI. And honestly, that'd be a lot easier. Lyft is pretty convenient, though, here, especially when they got a connection with Hilton. Had a good drive in from ATL, the airport that is. And my driver to, not mentioning names, but to the con this morning, could have definitely worked on his game. He got 5 stars regardless. You don't want to piss these drivers off. Worst thing you can say is that, his water bottle hit my car, or maybe there was coffee spills, and you got little marks on your windows. So definitely not something that it's just incidental stuff on their behalf. All right. Enough of the comfort. We're not here for that. We're here for the con. So I ended up just really checking out some panels. I did get onto the floor for a bit, and intimidated by a lot of people, I suppose. Bai Ling has a table just sitting out there. I don't think she's an official guest. And come on, it's Bai Ling. She's definitely been in, or I'm sorry, is it Ling Bai? I'm gonna have to check IMDb. It's one of those. I'd love to have her on the Crow panel I'm doing on Sunday. But, yeah. I mean, she's a legend in cinema, in my opinion. Not to... Okay, Bai Ling. Yeah, Bai Ling. She's, she's got a table across from Jeffrey Reddick, who... Gregory Carl said I infamously pissed off you can hear that in our episode about Companion. And I got some stories to tell about that, but again, it's like, do I go and apologize to him? And yeah, we'll get around to that. But the floor, there's some cool stuff. It's not overly busy, but you got an Ultra Saber, so you got more lightsaber vendors than Lansing. And yeah, Unit Glitter is there. So I guess the standards that run with FanX, who also handle Indiana Comic-Con convention, I am sorry. So I didn't really get to explore too much. Lots of food options, though. So I guess every little restaurant in this corridor has a food truck. And speaking of food, I did a little exploring yesterday to see, really, is this a 40-minute walk? And yeah, essentially it is, but it isn't a bad one. And I'm by the Georgia Tech campus, so I just have to go through, maybe 2-3 blocks of, do I need to be on guard type environments, the stuff that Mom says big cities are full of. So it's not as gentrified as the meatpacking district in Chicago, as I complain about the going to see the Lords of Acid at the Bottom Lounge and nowhere to park for free, like the good old days. Driving around so much, I miss Lucia Cifarelli, female vocalist of KMFDM, Mrs. K. But no, everything looks pretty nice except for the convenience store closest to me. Definitely looked a little shady. You just don't take EBT and have a pretty barren lot, in my opinion. So, if that's the worst of Atlanta, I think it's a fine city. So, and the panelists here, at least, and I think the audience are pretty receptive to more liberal things. And personally, I love walking back and seeing a billboard kind of joking about how STIs are forever, looking like a Cialis ad. Like, yeah, screw Indiana and all their bollocks with their, don't kill the baby signs. Actually, that was something about going through northern Indiana on the way to Lansing was, man, they are, their billboards are kind of whores because they advertise the hell out of pot tourism from the state above them. So, not real classy in Indiana. Not afraid to say. Yeah, definitely not the best capital city in the Midwest. I haven't been to Springfield in a while, so I don't want to, badger them too much, I suppose. But, hey, Lincoln compared to the place where Mike Pence sat, I know the roads are a hell of a lot better in Illinois, and that is saying something. Alright, but enough about cities, I suppose. We're here about the con. So, I get there just before 1, so I made all the panels I was planning to. The first panel was, and I'm going to have to go grab my phone, so talk amongst yourself. I'll give you a topic. How well do you think I faked my way through the David Lynch panel? Speak amongst yourselves, and so I was smart enough to go and take some pictures of the convention of the panelists. So I can tell you who I got to interact with. Not to say that I should have been interacting, which I think kind of cost me come the second panel. But the first panel I checked out was about 10 years of The Force Awakens, which is a fun panel with Brian Young, who I was on, who was with me on the panel for Force Awakens. No, sorry, The Last Jedi, Hidden Masterpiece. That panel is on the 90 for Chill, the I Did Crazy Flicks feed, so look back on that. Brian Young, Star Wars expert, writes all the trading cards, and I know he's got not quite as the heavy resumes as this, except I got the Jason Fry, very cool guy who wrote the novelization for the Last Jedi, so he had a lot of great insight. Maggie Levitt, very big fan of it, the franchise. And Timothy Avers, who is a really cool guy, and we will talk about him a little more in this bonus episode. But yeah, it was just not a lot of hate towards The Force Awakens. You know, they eventually address, like, yeah, it's Jedi. I mean, it's New Hope over again. And I didn't get to pick too much on J.J. Abrams and his directing. At least it was recognized. But I think I may have overstepped my bounds. Like, hey, you know, Brian knows I'm cool, or at least I thought he knew I'm cool. So, you know what? I'm a kind of a socially dense guy. I operate more with the roles, and maybe I'm getting a little too cocky about being a panelist. You know, I'm getting on these, and so a degree of expertise is expected. So, but that means it should solely be for the panel, I suppose. So, yeah, maybe I am the asshole. Sorry, Jeffrey Reddick. But yeah, very fun panel, good insights, and then the next panel was actually Jeffrey and Brian again doing... No, I'm sorry, Jason Fry and Brian again doing Luke Skywalker's journey in The Last Jedi. And they were able to just talk a lot and keep everything on task. And I was trying to keep myself withdrawn. And I guess I kind of got the vibe when questions and over to another guy did get a quick look. And it's like, okay, maybe I did overstep my bounds. Not a lot of Last Jedi vocal haters, just one gentleman saying, like, he was the expanded universe made him Neo, and it's like, I really want to get into that, because I didn't really care for... I read, let's see, 6 books. The first in the back when the books were starting and they were still able to put the entire timeline on one back page. The first one where Luke immediately goes Zen, and I thought, that's not Luke Skywalker. The Courtship of Princess Leia was a fun book, and it did kind of like have him debating, do I need to be this, celibate boot monk? Because this witch is pretty hot. Some ridiculous stuff like floating down from the atmosphere in a force bubble. That might be a little ridiculous even for my taste. But, Sabat games and aliens who breathe methane. It was a fun book, and that's the only one I really can say I enjoyed. Like, I read Heir to the Empire and Dark Force Rising, I think it was, the first 2 books of the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy. And I do miss Mara Jade not being in that. She had a pretty good arc in that set of books, but it was pretty much what I think nerds, and, I don't know. I'm very much in George's camp. It's his property, essentially. Like, I love having more stuff, but if I don't think he would do it, or which, explains making the expanded universe no longer canon, which I'm fine with, because I didn't really care for the books. Like, I didn't want Thrawn dying like a bitch. So that's but Mara Jade, female Jedi, we hadn't had that, and I read those obviously before the prequels came out. So but so that was a nice panel. They did great job bringing up Rashomon in terms of perspectives, and the only thing I really wanted to say was, so somebody was going to be the villain. It was either going to be Ben or Luke. He could have gone immediately. Like, now I've got my own, like, see, that's why I leave it to the professionals. You don't want me like, all right, so why don't we just cut the Ben and Luke right away, and everybody hate the franchise right there, immediately kill Han. Yeah, okay. So that was the first 2 panels I got to. And hell did I think about it? I was at 5 different panels. The third panel was was the first one I got to do at ATL Comic Convention, and it was with Mr. Timothy Avers. He writes a film noir, a comic book noir series. I'm sorry that I'm blanking on it right now, but really did his homework creating this story about counterfeiting in the fashion world and involving the what we call the Russian mob. And he really did a lot of research on it, and we'll get into it because that panel was Knives in My Eyes, Brick 20 years later. And Brick was the first film Rian Johnson ever wrote and directed, and I mean, first film out of film school, essentially, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Excellent. This may have been the third time I rewatched it. As I say on the podcast, I felt like a real podcaster, like Jason, June, and Paul on How Did This Get Made. I was watching it on my iPad. I was watching it at regular speed. Let me point that out. But, oh my God, brilliant, and it's great. Like, I really wish I could get on a Last Jedi now. I did not get on a Last Jedi panel. I didn't even apply because, well, I did it back in Indiana for FanX. So, but, oh man, you know, what we could bring into it, and we get to talk a lot of stuff. And you know what? We didn't have an audience until people were trying to wade in on the next one. But they were very interactive. Got to hand out some I Did Crazy Flicks buttons. So, you know what? Maybe we ran a little long, but if you go back to Twin Cities Con, which I got to go and apply to see if I can solely get a Friday panel because I got to get back home for Mom and Dad's 50th. But yeah, you know, if you got the clicker out, those people should have counted for us. That's how it would have been in Minnesota, but they're especially nice. What about some southern hospitality is all I'm asking. After that panel, that's when I was wandering the floor, and I'm sorry to the toy guys who were selling a bunch of Funko Pops, and they had, I think, a couple of the Tall Man from Phantasm, Angus Scrimm's classic character, complete with the little orb. And it's like, oh, damn. That was something I tried to get a little more love for. Captain Phasma. You know, everybody loves Gwendolyn Christie. I didn't even watch Game of Thrones until COVID. You know, it was going to be a good way to spend 3 weeks. 9 months later. So it was kind of interesting, again, going into the Force Awakens. You know, we're not, like, I saw Attack the Block, so I was ready for John Boyega. But, you know, nobody knew anything about Daisy Ridley. We all knew Oscar Isaac from somewhere. Sadly, I think at that point it would have probably just been Sucker Punch for me. Well, I mean, I did see Ex Machina and Donald Gleason, Ex Machina, and some would say, well, you didn't watch Harry Potter? And I'm just going to say, yes, I can use one F-bomb on a podcast. Fuck J.K. Rowlings, and we'll be done. Yeah, so a lot of love for Hux. I'm going to... Gleason's character. So, General Hux, I think it was. Okay. Yeah. The perfect ginger without a soul, dare I say. Maybe JJ was onto something with that casting. Because I won't give JJ too much credit. Like, he had one great shot in Last Jedi. Some great establishing shots, I should say. But action is not really his thing. Okay. So... But yeah, I got to talk about Brick. So it was really just a one-on-one conversation. I will say Tim should try talking to the mic a little more. But, you know, by that point, I was relaxed too. I wasn't. So, you know, audio was looking good. I just got to go and increase it on a little lady who was on the... who came in like, well, tell me about Brick. And we kind of just wrapped it up by just recapping it. So I'm going to see, because I did pick up a souvenir from her. She gave me a little heart, and I'm going to, you know, mention her, you know, especially if she's listening to the podcast. So thank you very much just for the inclusivity. And so she's got a little heart coaster, essentially, for Made For You. Handwriting's a little wonky, but play our game soon at Indoor Otaku's page on itch.io, itch.io. I'll have to look into that. Heck, Russ, you got a computer in front of you. Just keep talking, and you should be able to get that figured out, I suppose. Itch.io. All right, itch.io. That is I guess is an indie gaming page. Oh, so very cool. So, player games soon at Indoor Otaku's page. Let's see if I can find that. Indoor Otaku. Okay. Lawn Chair Larry. And so, yeah, kind of looks like Flash games in a certain extent. So, but hey, very cool. Thank you very much for your, saying hi to me even after as I'm walking around. So, when I walked to the GWCC on Thursday evening, I only got to as far because it's like everything is there. You have the Mercedes Dome, Mercedes-Benz Dome. You have the State Farm Arena. So you got where the Hawks play. I wouldn't be surprised, and perhaps, I don't know, maybe Atlanta's playing Charlotte tomorrow in the Dome. They've already got the World Cup 2026 stuff already put up, so I guess we can't I guess FIFA can't do the right thing and keep the U.S. out of it for the sake of, screwing up this country. So, and that was something, again, bringing up, like, every time we get a Star Wars, the world goes to shit. Star Wars led to Reagan. Prequels led to Bush. And, yeah, I had to go and I was going to shout out Orange. Can't use naughty text. There we go. So, yeah, so I am sorry to, Jason and Brian, Tim, and Maggie if I was, trying to make the show about myself. But you saw me sit in the front. There's no mics, so at least the audience. At least there were mics. Lansing did not have those. So yeah, lots of fun there. Got to the floor, and got a little love for the Cat Bus hat. Not really too impressed the cosplay thus far. Some nice has-been, and at least we got has-been. There wasn't a lot in Lansing, but I got a bookmark, and basically give me a compliment. I'm gonna co-intern and talk to you about the series Apocalypse Virus, which seems dystopian future. Government creates virus, or there's a virus. 40% of the world's dead. A lot of people become mutants. So I said doomsday. He kind of hooked up on that idea. So thanks for the compliment, and I hope you appreciated the I Did Crazy Flicks button. Again, it's about the merchandising. I really do need to probably get a table at some point and just start coming up with t-shirt ideas. Because who doesn't love Crazy Flicks? My little sister. But I digress. Alright, so for, as I say, there was a dealer who had the Funko Pop for the Tall Man. I'm not going to risk that, but I know I can't really get it through the airport, despite what the N20 Savers company said. Oh, you can bring a lightsaber through an airport now, no problem. Yeah, I got a carry-on. I don't have a kid. A kid, give him a backpack. Surely you can stuff 2 kids into 1 suitcase. You know what I'm getting at. So, yeah, I'm not going to risk it. But they had their lightsabers were pretty lightweight. Or at least the one they gave me, which was a $100 value. So I don't know. They're letting people have lightsaber fights. I got a lot of space still in the convention, so not a lot of vendors, all things considered. But they're gonna have lightsaber fights, so maybe I can see these things in action. And I got their card, so N20 sabers, thank you. And as I say, there's a lot of food options. That is a good thing. And there's Ling Bai, Bai Ling. It's really sad because I studied Mandarin for a couple of years. And I gotta work up the nerve to talk to this beautiful Chinese woman. But great, I put it on the air. I gotta go and go and fulfill it. So there we go. So 1 o'clock was when I arrived. I got to see the Force Awakens. 2 o'clock, The Last Jedi. 3 o'clock, I'm entertaining with Tim for Brick. And then took an hour off, and then went in for a V for Vendetta panel, which was a lot of fun. I think he could have probably investigated the quality of the film a little more. Like, we were very much talking about the politics, which are very poignant for this time, being one of the panelists. And again, I have the picture, so I should be able to pull that up. Okay, so yeah, okay, boom. So Chris Bird, she brought up the fact that, well, I'm not going to mention who she works for. She did, but I'm not recording it. And actually, like everybody on the panel, I'm sorry I did not get one girl left her name tag somewhere else, which Tim eventually did too. But it was hosted by I believe it was hosted by Mario De Angelis. Sorry if I mispronounced that name. And another panelist was Stephanie Carr, who I had actually seen, probably barely remembered because that was the Chris Alexander, Stephanie Carr, Jeffrey Reddick panel, which I was very drunk at. So there you go. But they were it was a lot about the politics, and we got to be aware and we got to be helpful. And this is about the same time I found out Colbert was getting canceled. So and I'm devil advocate, like, why would they do that? They said it was a financial distance. It's like, well, they want this merger to go through. Trump can disapprove of it. Yeah, it's financial. And, I tried not to interfere too much. And when I thought I stepped on somebody else's question, I kind of shut up until I knew they at least got to speak. So I'm trying to get better. But yeah, it was a fun panel. But again, I think the flaws of V for Vendetta could be, picked up. Like, oh, it looks so much like a comic. Yes, and I don't think it fits necessarily the flow of the film. So, yeah, love story and all that. But the director, who knows? The Wachowski probably had more power on that film than the director. Let me look that up once again. V4 and yeah, so it was 2 hours 12 minutes. V for Vendetta, James McTeague. So I don't think he maybe he thought it flowed well. Let me see. I think he did a movie called Survivor with Mila Jovovich and Pierce Brosnan, Robert Forster as well, which was not overly impressive. Yeah, he did Survivor. He directed that John Cusack movie, The Raven. Ninja Assassin is just an attempt to capitalize on Kill Bill, craze with violence, I suppose. I don't think it has much heart to it, regardless of which side the heart is on. Spoiler alert. So, but I did bring in. We're trying to figure out why it wasn't a hit. It did do bad. It did bad. I would call it a bomb, and it was brought up that it was bumped from November to March because politics and what have you. Probably more an English thing, I suppose. I would have at least released it in England on the 5th of November. Remember. And I did suggest we need Luigi masks if Warner Brothers has got the rights to the V for Vendetta mask. Yeah, weird. Yeah, I mean, money everywhere. I mentioned Rollerball as a another dystopian future in control. Not as bleak as V for Vendetta. Not as bleak. I did bring up that it bombed. It may have bombed because it was a PG-13 rated comic book movie, and he said, "Well, no. 8 years earlier, Blade," and it's like, yeah, no, Blade is vampires versus Daywalker. It's not. You don't have to think about the context of, make Britain great again. And we think we all agree that Stephen Miller is a piece of trash, and AI is actually writing all of Trump's material. So, in funny AI conversations, I will say that about how Chat GPT will talk you up until it's ready to take your money, and then it will treat you like the judgmental piece of garbage that it is. As for AI is theft, of course, the second logo for 90 for Chill podcast, the crazy looking cat with a reel of film, that was created with Midjourney before they started. They didn't make any money off of it. At least give me that. I think AI has a place, at least in terms of creating. I think it serves as a great template to work with if you're an artist. I think it can be, maybe not an artist, but like a content creator. Not to say that content creating isn't art, but what I'm saying is, like, okay, I need something, and I can work from the idea that AI produces. Give me a pen and paper. I'm not that bad an artist, and I could probably go and like, okay. Several of my tattoos are stuff I saw, I liked, and it was basically, I'm going to see what I can do. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look as good. I'm going to be the first to acknowledge that. And then I've got at least when it comes to Peoria, if you can get a hold of Eric Durst, he can do some great stuff for you. So I'm just saying, like, you can't depend on AI. You just, ask it a question. Don't interact with it, I suppose. Don't be too friendly with it. Unless, and I'm not opposed to it, it's going to it's going to shit. So you may as well build relationships with it. Get it on, make it think you're one of the good ones, because computers will take over. And how we train AI is poor just because it acts like, I know the AI on X or Twitter, whatever the shit is gone Nazi, because it picks up on what people are talking about, and the worst things are going to get amplified. And so if it's going to think like a Nazi, it is going to kill us. So there you go. Be nice to AI, and hopefully it'll just run off to a different planet, like Fan Expo presenter Victor Danage always says. So yeah, from there, I hear, I go up to the panelists, give them a button for the podcast, and that is when Stephanie Carr, a redhead Stephanie I can trust. Sorry, had to throw a swipe in at my old friend Stephanie Smith. I think I'd still call her a friend. I don't know what I'm to her. And watching Brick kind of makes me wonder, well, that's your codependency speaking. So Stephanie, I give him a, and Stephanie said, "You were at Indiana, right?" "Yeah, I was you were at the horror panel." "Yeah, I was. I'm sorry that I was such a dick I was told I was a real dick to Jeffrey Reddick. I'm sorry about that. Do I need to go and apologize to him?" No, that was all Chris. Chris Alexander. Minority stakeholder in Full Moon Features and the editor of their magazine. So no, don't. We even told Chris, you should probably apologize to Jeff, and I know he don't think he got that. So, but with all that little chatting, being social, geez, that's a challenge for me. So, hey, give me some points. Mario said, "Well, I'm sticking around. Actually, I got a David Lynch panel." It's like, well, geez, I'm not overly knowledgeable on David Lynch, but I quoted some Dennis Hopper from Blue Velvet, and they were cool with me, and they were great. Timothy was back on that panel, and came in a little late, lost his name on the last panel he did, so far busier than I. So, but it was great Timothy being there, Timothy Avers. And Mario was also joined by a guy with a great David Lynch impersonation. And that, dang it, come on. No, I don't need all that. I'm just trying to point. No, dang it, phone. There we go. Ah, geez. I'm going to have to go to the app. It's Sean something. I do know his podcast, so that might actually get easier than most of my little screw-ups and such. He's a host of the Missing Frames podcast, and so he doesn't really mention his name there, but he's recently said, well, and he wore a Superman shirt to the panel, so yeah, we've got at least May 11th was the last non-Superman related episode, but it was about Satoshi Kon's Paprika, so very cool. Yeah, so come on, not a lot of information. So, and Ryan Norris, last cast, Sean, Party Hello, the channel, the Nerd. So it's on the Nerd Party channel, but Missing Frames is the name of the podcast. I can still come up with his name. I'm not going to. I mean, I'm just chatting. So, To the Void, perchance. But bonus episodes are usually short, so the rate numbers are pretty good. Oh, come on, you gotta be more confident, Russ. Alright, brief for Yoke. Ooh. No, Yokai, not so much. Sorry, just looking at the stuff I may have missed. From Eraserhead to Twin Peaks and Beyond, the art to David Lynch. And Sean Eastridge was the other panelist. This is a great Lynch impersonation. And yeah, that's just a lot of fun. For the most part, those guys just tell you, and I may have faked it a little bit, I have not seen Eraserhead. So, but stories about how they got exposed to Eraserhead and how many friends they alienated by exposing them to Eraserhead. But, I've seen Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart. Stephanie was trying to get into Mulholland Drive, but she gets scared by the homeless guy by the dumpster scene really early on. So, but, he's just so out there, David Lynch, at least. Like, Eraserhead, nobody knows what it is about. We go into the Mel Brooks influence, which, kept him rolling despite the failure of Doom and Eraserhead being a movie that took 5 years to make, and, really, if it wasn't for cult status, but a real great examination about indie cinema and how it seems like you're eventually going to sell out, because he was friends with, he was up to direct, or that's who George Lucas wanted to direct Return of the Jedi. That's why he ended up doing Dune, because he missed that bus. But, and being uncompromising, and, how David Lynch is something everybody's got to respect, and I wasn't too obnoxious in that panel, I think, because I, again, didn't really know the subject as well as most, or may have known it better, but it was a lot of fun, and, then it was just my walk home. Picked up some Rocky's chicken and fries. I did not have the fries, but the tenders are great and excellent on the chicken and waffles. And I got to have an Angry Orchard with it, so very cool. Previous day, I stopped by a restaurant maybe 2 doors down, the Peri Peri Grill. And It was okay. Really, I should have been maybe a little bit was me not being really aware that, peri peri is supposed to be more on grilled stuff. So when I got my wings, they were fried. But they were even easy to handle because this was very much a let's throw green onions and other, green onions on your food. Like, just come on. Like, I don't know. Do they really add to the flavor? Because again, not hard for me to ignore with a fried wing. I think really grilled was probably going to be the best way to go because I think it was cooked fine. But I would say that it's just very much when I bite into it and there's no fighting. It's just very much it's been cooked to the point where, and I'm not saying in a bad way, where it's like fall off the bone, almost, how people say steak like butter, that kind of thing. Makes me think I've been tempted. Maybe I should go to the Ruth Chris Steakhouse in the Embassy Suites. But I don't know if I want to put that tab on a certain party who's paying for the airfare and the hotel. But you know what? That's a great way to conclude. And, I will get there. So I just want to go through the normal formalities and we'll send you on your way. I'd like to thank my Patreon subscribers, Tim Bates. Find him on Arena and Night of the Demons in this feed. And AAW backstage interviewer, The Scoop Staley, for donating $3 a month to the podcast. They get a waterproof sticker. I'm getting more stickers, so if that's the reason somebody skipped, sorry, I could just personally give the stickers to them. Send me your address, I guess. You get a waterproof sticker, get on water bottles and what have you. Small, very easy to just put anywhere, and it is fun seeing utility poles in Atlanta where, I could probably stick my stickers there. So not so much in the downtown, but you get around, you get closer to the campus, you can. Sorry to encourage graffiti. But that $3 a month, you get the sticker, you get the shout out, and you get access to the original Podbean feed of I Did Crazy Flicks, as I'm putting that back all up, and I still gotta put this current, my last new episode, the one about, oh crap, where was I in Lansing? Capital City Comic Convention, Comic-Con. Yeah, I should have looked around more there, but I was able to drive, not walk, so not as observant. But, so I'm putting all the new episodes there. I'm pulling all the original feeds so you can see how I've matured as a podcaster, dare I say, on my Patreon. Patreon.com/IDidCrazyFlicks. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, feel free to send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. You can also contact me on my social media. That's @CatBusRuss, Blue Sky preferably. But I'm on Threads and I am on Instagram. I do not check Threads, so you're going to have to hope Meta lets me know. Now I'm thinking, you might as well download the app again. I just got sick of hey, check this out. Threads, I don't want to open it up. Bloody hell. So contact me, offer me a movie, a theme, a director, an actor, as long as, your movie is kind of off the wall, like Brick. It's a movie about film noir and drug deals at a high school, and high schoolers acting like that. And you could see Wes Anderson without the whimsy, I dare I say. So yeah, that's off the wall enough for me. But if you have something that's, a little more down to earth, I do need to talk about more rom-coms in my life. If it's between 70 and 100 minutes, let me know and I'm happily talk about it. I'm ready to 94 chill. So, rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast apps. 5-star reviews, please. You can be as honest as you want in the comments. I will learn from them. Maybe I'll learn that you're a butthead, but more than likely, if it's genuine criticism, I will take it to heart, and thank you very much for it. And now I guess it's just, you know what, I gotta thank Station Marie Harden for keeping an eye on me, keeping me out of trouble, or at least the bad kind of trouble. And I hope she's doing the same for everybody else she touched in her life. And I hope she's squeezing the ectoplasm out of the most jellicle of kitties, Skimbleshanks, the one-eared angel. He's a fluffy little fluff. And maybe I should just make this a digital recording, and just add, before Can I Get a Wahoo? Let me go and thank, I have it in my notes. That's a reason why you didn't delete the brick note. So, at least for me, and I took this from the credits of Brick, like I took the disclaimer from Phantasm 4. This panel was made possible, or I should say, this podcast was made possible by the love and support of Dave and Cindy Stevens, Rory Stevens, and Allison Higgins, Danny Daniels, and Stephanie Smith. They're all people who believe in me, and, I gotta always remember that. So, thank you, Mom, Dad, Rory, the Poetic Critic, Allie, and Danny, Steph. You know who you are. So, thanks for listening to 90 for Chill, the podcast. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening to I Dig Crazy Flicks presents 90 for Chill, the podcast with Cat Bus Russ. And I hope you enjoy the rest of ATL Comic Convention, if that's why you're listening to this bonus pod. And I hope you just have yourselves a great week. Hell, a great year. There's still some great cinema to come out. So, thanks again for listening, and have yourselves a good whatever.
Can I hear a wahoo?